Often you hear people talk about what are the most defining and influential works in the Western tradition, the so called Western canon. And there isn't really a definitive list, but I'd say that in most people's top 5 or top 10 would have to be the Apology of Socrates. As you may know, the Apology of Socrates wasn't an apology in our modern sense of the word. It was essentially Socrates' criminal defense. He had been put on trial for impiety and for corrupting the youth in Athens. He actually lost the trial and was executed. That's how he died. The work called The Apology of Socrates is a written account of Socrates' self-defense at that trial. It was written by Plato, who attended the trial. We're not exactly sure how faithful what's written by Plato is to what was spoken by Socrates, but what's written by Plato is considered one of the greatest works in Western literature. So as part of his defense, Socrates gets to depose his accuser, a man named Meletus. And when they're discussing the accusation that Socrates corrupts the youth, there's this really famous passage. I put the Greek and English in parallel. Tutu detu enklematos hen hekaston exetasomen. Pesigar de tus neos adikin me διαφθείροντα. Εγώ δεγε ο άνδρες Αθηναίοι αδικήν φεμι μέλετον, ότι σπουδαίοι χαριεντίζεται. Ράιδιος εισαγώνα καθιστάς ανθρώπους, περί πραγμάτων προσποιούμενος σπουδάζειν και κέδεστε, ον ουδεν τούτο επόποτε εμέλεσεν. Ώστε τούτο χούτος έχει περάσουμε και χούμεν επιδείξε. Και μοϊδέρο μέλετε είπε. Άλλου τι επεριπλής του ποη όπως χος βελτιστoi χοι νερότεροι έσονται. Έγωγε. Ήθιδενην είπε τούτοις. Τις αυτούς βελτίους ποη. Τέλον γαρ ότι οίστα μέλλον γεσόι. Τον μεν γαρ διαφθείροντα εξευρών χος φέης εμέ εισάγεις τούτο εσύ και κατηγορείς. Τον δε βελτίους ποϊόντα ήθη είπε. Και μένουσον αυτοις τις έστιν. Ωραίς ομέλητε ότι εισηγείς και ουκ έχεις υπήν. Και το ουκ εσχρόν σόιδο και είναι, και χικανόν τεκμέριον ουδε εγώ λέγω, ότι σόι ουδεν με μέλικεν. Αλλά είπε όθαγε, τις αυτούς αμήνους ποη. Χοι νόμοι. Αλλού τούτο ερωτώ βέλτιστε. Αλλά τις άνθρωπος, χως της πρώτον και αυτό τούτο όιδε τους νόμους. Ούτω ο Σοκράτης, χοι δικαστέ. Πώς λέγεις ομέλητε. Όιδε τους νέους παϊδεύειν χοι εσύ και βελτίους ποιούσιν. Μάλιστα. Πότεραν χάπαντες, χοι μεν αυτόν χοι χάπαντες. Έλγενε τενέραν λέγεις και πολλέν αυτόν νίαν τον ωφελούντον. Τι δε, χοι δακροτέ βελτίους ποιούσιν, και χούτοι. Τι δε, χοι βουλαutέ, και χοι βουλαutέ. Αλλά άρα ομέλητε, με χοι εν τη εκκλησία, χοι εκκλησιαστέ διαφθείρουσιν τους νεωτέρους, και εκείνοι βελτίους ποιούσιν χάπαντες. Και εκείνοι. Πάντες άραχος έλεκεν, Αθηναίοι καλούς καγαθούς ποιούσιν πλεν εμού. Εγώ δε μόνος διαφθείρω, που το λέγεις. Πάνω σφόδρα τα λέγω. Πολλέν και μου κατέγνωκας τη στοιχείαν. Και μου απόκρινε. Και περιχύπως χούτο σόιδο και έχειν. Χοι μεν βελτίους ποιούντες αυτούς πάντες άνθρωπο είναι. Είστε της χω διευθύρων. Ετουραντίαν τούτου πανχείς μεν της χω βελτίους χωιος των ποήν. Επάνω ολίγοι, χοι χυπικοί. Χοι δε πολλοί εάν περσινώσιν και χρόντα χυποis διαφθείρουσιν. Ουκ χούτος έχει ομελητέ και περιχυπών και των άλλων χαπάντων ζωέων. Πάντως δε που, εάν τεσί κάνετος ουφίτε εάν φέτε. Πολλοί γέραν της ευδαιμονία ιεν περί τους νέους, εις μεν μόνος αυτούς διαφθείρει, χοι δε άλλοι ωφελούσιν. Αλλά γάρ ομελητέ, ικανός επιδείκνυσε ότι ουδεπόποτε εφρόντισας των νέων, και σαφώς αποφαίνεις την σαουτού αμέλιαν, ότι ουδέν σοι με μελικέν περιχών εμέ εισάγεις. So Meletus says that Socrates is the sole corrupter of the youth in Athens. Everybody else makes them good, Socrates makes them bad. Socrates says that this is absurd because in every field, it's actually the one specialist who knows what he's doing, whereas the majority do not. He gives the example of a horse trainer. The horse trainer alone has the expertise to improve horses. Everybody else in society ruins them. The implication is that since Socrates has devoted himself to the education of the youth, it would be absurd to suppose that everybody else in society benefits them and he hurts them. There is an opportunity for a counter-argument here if you say that even though Socrates might have the ability to help them, he chooses to corrupt them. And that's why in the following passage, Socrates argues that he has only every incentive to help them. But the argument here rests on the idea of specialization, and it seems pretty obvious to us today. We live in a highly specialized world. Most of us do one job, and that's how we get all our money. And then we pay other people to do everything else we need done. We pay farmers to grow our food, and bakers to bake the bread, and mechanics to fix our cars, designers to design our houses, and builders to build the houses, etc., etc. When this idea gets interesting is when it's applied to government. If we argue that in any domain, a single specialist will always be more competent than a large group of non-specialists, how could democracy possibly be appropriate? If we agree, for example, that piloting a ship should be left to a trained specialist, a pilot, instead of a bunch of people with other professions like bakers, builders, and farmers, then why would something as important as government be left to bakers, builders, and farmers? This concept of specialization here is employed to defend Socrates against the allegation that he corrupts the youth. But elsewhere in Plato's philosophy, it's developed as an argument against democracy. And it's an argument about which the founding fathers of the USA and European Enlightenment intellectuals were acutely aware. You will find attempts to address it or refute it throughout tons of Enlightenment philosophy and politics if you keep your eye out.